Welcome back everybody to part 2 of my Rhythm Heaven video essay series. Like I said in part 1, this part is going to mainly feature Rhythm Heaven Fever and Rhythm Heaven Megamix as the two main focuses for this video. And at the end, I will hopefully finalize my opinion of the series as a whole to you guys, as well as give my thoughts on where I think the series can go from here on. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy this part 2 of what makes Rhythm Heaven so great. On to the third, and arguably most popular game in the series, Rhythm Heaven Fever. Well, with a fancy name like that, I sure hope it lives up to its potential. Now, many people in the Rhythm Heaven fanbase, including myself to an extent, might consider Rhythm Heaven Fever to be the perfect representation of what a Rhythm Heaven game should be like. Being the third game in the franchise, it manages to refine all of the Rhythm Heaven aspects to a T, as well as innovating on those aspects in its own creative ways. I feel like Rhythm Heaven Fever is the best game to introduce newcomers into the series. But can we just take a moment to talk about how consistent the game series is as a whole?
Jab! Jab! Go, go, go!
I mean, each installment of the game has only been 2 years apart. That's a pretty impressive feat, especially considering that the team is split between WarioWare and this game series. But how about the quality of the game, you should ask? Well, my friends, I'm excited to tell you that Rhythm Heaven Fever might be one of, if not the best rhythm game of all time. Now, before anyone goes crazy in the comments section, let me explain. I know that might have been a bold statement to claim, but I really mean it with how well designed and intricate the rhythm-based mechanics in this game seem to be. This might be one of the few video games that I can fearlessly claim I can play blindfolded. The music-based content and rhythm minigames are that well designed in this game. First of all, I just want to say that this game uses the standard Rhythm Heaven formula to a perfect T, and the way the game takes you through all of the core mechanics of the franchise is just so crisp and clean. Being that this is the first Rhythm Heaven game in the franchise that I actually played, I can confidently say without a doubt that this game perfectly introduces the player into the world of wackiness and creativity that this game series is known for. I almost instantly fell in love with Rhythm Heaven Fever's amazing assortment of rhythm-based minigames, as well as immediately get the outstanding OST stuck in my head. I mean, it's almost criminal how well made this game is, as well as the other games in the franchise for that matter. They managed to put out such a consistently good quality of content in such a short span of time and with such a small team of developers. This series as a whole is just criminally underrated. Back to Rhythm Heaven Fever, let's see how this game squares up to its predecessors. Well, if we start first off on the topic of music, I'm proud to say that it blows it out of the park with this game. You hear so many iconic tracks in such a short amount of time. This time around, we have over 3 lyrical tracks in the game, and each one of them happen to be absolute bangers. It's truly astounding how this game that only costs $10 can have this amount of great content packed into it. And don't even get me started on the minigames. Oh boy. I feel like these set of minigames are the best the series has to offer in terms of quality. It feels like they took their old minigame concepts from the DS game and GameCube game and perfectly finalized them into the Wii game as their most ideal form. Screwbots feels like the perfect version of Philbots. This Samurai Slice feels like the perfect form of Samurai Slice as a whole. And Karate Man in this game, they somehow managed to improve it upon the DS version of the game, which I thought was impossible, until you actually play the game for yourself and, well, yeah, pretty awesome. Among other things that Rhythm Heaven Fever does, I feel like it has the best assortment of side games and extra content for the player to go at. It is the first game in the series that actually features a multiplayer mode. I remember playing this mode a lot with my siblings, and I gotta say, it is a pretty high quality multiplayer mode for people with friends or family that they want to play with. They even made side games for the multiplayer mode alone, which also happened to be good. Overall, just solid extra content to keep the player wanting more from the game. On to the remixes that this game features, and I gotta say, they're not as strong as the DS game, but they do have some of their standout moments, especially Remix 8, the best one in the game. I feel like the main reasons why these remixes don't hit as hard as the other titles is because a lot of them are really short, some even less than a minute long. But Remix 10, however, I know people already consider this to be the best one, and it surely holds that title as being the best remix 10 in the entire series. Perfect melody, and a perfect use of all the minigames that you've learned up until this point. They even managed to sneak in Night Dance, which if you know is from the Rhythm Tengoku game on the Game Boy, although this time around, it's way cooler. As a whole, Rhythm Heaven Fever can easily be considered one of the best rhythm games out there. It is chock full of exhilarating music, fun moments, and wacky characters and art. Definitely a starter rhythm game for anyone interested in this type of genre. Now, as I said at the beginning, I'm pretty sure that Rhythm Heaven Fever is the most popular game in the franchise. Besides the fact that this is the second best selling game in the series, I feel like Rhythm Heaven Fever really shot the franchise to a new popularity on the internet. Around this time, people were starting to realize just how underrated of a franchise this was, and videos about Rhythm Heaven were easily getting over 1,000 views. This, however, was not the peak of the Rhythm Heaven series. No. Its peak would soon be realized for the amazing 3DS game, and probably the final game in the franchise, Rhythm Heaven Megamix. Here we are at last, the final Rhythm Heaven game, Rhythm Heaven Megamix. To start off, I just want to say that it is insane that this game costs $30. The Rhythm Heaven series has been known to have fairly cheap prices for the amount of great content you get, so it is completely out of the ordinary that this game has such a price ceiling. And since it's on the fleeting 3DS eShop, I don't expect that price to lower anytime soon. P.S. If you want to play the game, you should probably buy it now before it goes out of stock. Anyway, on to Megamix. One thing I'll say about the game overall is that it's just the definitive Rhythm Heaven game. The way that this game works is that it takes all of the mini-games from different franchises, i.e. from the Game Boy game, Rhythm Heaven DS, and from Rhythm Heaven Fever, and it mixes them together into one huge Megamix, and uses those games to fill out a majority of the content featured in the game. Long story short, this Rhythm Heaven game has the most content in it by far, no questions asked. But how is the game's quality, you may ask? Well, since it's a Rhythm Heaven game, you already know that it's pretty good. The way the game is structured, however, is actually quite different than your traditional Rhythm Heaven game. One change that will immediately become noticeable to veteran players is that this game actually has a storyline. Now, that might be quite surprising to people who actually know the series, because Rhythm Heaven up until this point has kinda just been a bunch of randomized minigames with no story context given to any of them except for the general idea of the minigame. The games usually never tried to have a sense of connectedness with the minigames, but instead they were just in their own little context bubble. This game, however, is vastly different, as we actually have a main character this time, in the form of Tibby. Now, Tibby just kinda acts like the mascot character for Rhythm Heaven Megamix, and he's quite adorable. Now, the story in this game isn't too complex, it's nothing Shakespearean-like, but it basically is focused on the fact that Tibby has amnesia, and he's trying to get back to a place called the Heaven World. He decides to use the advice of his mother and try to climb something tall in order to get back to the Heaven World. This is where you meet the 7 towers, which feature the 7 remixes of the main game, and then you go into Heaven World, which feature the last 3, just like any traditional Rhythm Heaven game. The later part of the plot focuses on his mother and the fact that she has the hiccups, and apparently the way they solve that is by her holding her breath. Like I said, not the most complex story in the world. But on to the minigames. Rhythm Heaven Megamix's biggest criticism is that it doesn't have a lot of original minigames, it just kinda uses remixed ones from, the other titles. Not saying that those remixed ones are good, the new art style changes and the high quality music is definitely appreciated. And I think the few minigames that Megamix does add to the franchise are actually quite great. Some notable ones that I would like to call out actually are Pajama Party, Cat Clap, and Karate Man Senior. Those 3 minigames are honestly masterpieces and great additions to the series. The remixes, however, are the highlight of the entire game because they can actually go all out this time, with the limitations of the 3DS being basically endless for this type of series, and their access to literally every single Rhythm Heaven game. That's why I feel like this time around, the remixes in Rhythm Heaven Megamix are honestly just so fun. First of all, you have the excellent theming and aesthetic choices for each remix. The lush and foliage aesthetic for Remix 1, the hardline and mechanical feeling of Remix 2, and the orange-flavored tendencies of Remix 4 are just some notable ones to call out. Each remix in this game has this excellent aesthetic and art style that makes it flourish and ooze style. The songs as well also hit pretty hard. One amazing feature that I would like to point out in this game is that you have the choice of turning on either English voice acting or the original Japanese voice acting, which comes in extreme handy when considering let's just be honest, the horrible botched translations of games such as Space Dance. The Japanese voice acting is quite appreciated, especially considering that some remixes in the game don't actually have lyrics for the English one, so you have to turn on the Japanese lyrics for it to actually play. And the songs themselves, they actually stand quite nice side by side to the other Rhythm Heaven songs. Fits perfectly in with the series. Although specifically with Megamix, I feel like the songs are way more professionally made, if that sounds right. Not that the other games don't have professionally sounding songs, but Megamix just seems like they hired a whole orchestra for some of these pieces. Overall, the main content of the game is just perfect for any Rhythm Heaven fans of any game. Does not disappoint at all. And the fan service in this game is also amazing. They truly know what Rhythm Heaven fans want to see, and they know how to give it to you perfectly. Just a really solid entry if this is the final Rhythm Heaven game. I hope it's not, but I would not be sad if it was. My only gripe and regret with this game, if it is the last Rhythm Heaven game, is that they didn't use every single minigame that's been shown in the series thus far. Although now that I say that out loud, that is a pretty hefty demand to give to the developers. Especially considering that this game is already so chock full of amazing content. I have almost 100%ed the game, and even then I'm still finding stuff I could discover and do, such as the challenge train. Oh, the challenge train. Even the quote-unquote best players of the Rhythm Heaven series struggle here. I still haven't been able to beat this thing. But I do wish the best of luck to all who try. And to those who just want a nice solid rhythm game, and probably one of the last Rhythm Heaven games on this list, get Rhythm Heaven Megamix. It is the definitive game that you should play if you're interested in this series, and if you don't want to pay $1,000 for any other one of the games. And that, my friends, is the end of my Rhythm Heaven video essay series. Overall, I feel that Rhythm Heaven is the most underrated franchise out of all of the other Nintendo IPs. There's just so much love, care, and creativity that this series has to offer. From the amazing music to the wacky minigames, this series will always have a pleasant place in my heart as one of the best rhythm game series of all time. I hope you enjoyed watching this little retrospective, and thank you very much for watching this video. Peace.